Nigel Farage raged at Theresa May today as MEPs gave the green light to the Brexit divorce deal. The former UKIP leader said the EU was delighted with the agreement because the EM had given in on virtually everything. He branded signing up to a £39 billion divorce deal ridiculous and warned that concessions over rights of EU citizens would mean open door immigration for years to come. The scathing assessment came as a close allied Angela Merkel gloated about the exit package during a fiery debate in the European Parliament. Weber faced shouts of rubbish as he claimed that most Britons have now changed their minds about leaving the EU. The senior MEP said the UK had been forced to bow to the will of Ireland over the border issue, saying, "The British will lose a lot." The incendiary comments came as MEPs gave their approval to the divorce deal package, clearing the way for EU leaders to declare that trade talks can start at a summit on Friday. The EU's chief negotiator Michel Barnier told the session that there was still work to be done in areas like citizens' rights, but sufficient progresses have been made to move on to the next phase. He said he hoped the framework he was setting would make those talks more serene than the first stage. The British people realise now that Brexit means losing many things, but not necessarily gaining anything, he said. EU pressures May by dragging heels on trade talks. Michel Barnier gave a clear sign today that the EU will try to drag out Brexit talks to up the pressure on the UK. The EU's chief negotiator told the European Parliament there were very many more steps that need to be taken before a final Brexit deal is thrashed out. He said the EU's next priority is to consider a possible transition period before turning to trade later. Brussels insists that trade negotiations will not begin until March 2018 at the earliest, with work in the first 3 months of the year focusing on an implementation period of around 2 years following the official Brexit date of March 2019. The timetable appears designed to exert maximum pressure on Britain to make concessions. It will again raise fears that Mrs May will be unable to stick to her mantra of nothing is agreed until everything is agreed. Mr Barnier told MEPs in Strasbourg that if EU 27 leaders agree on Friday to move Brexit negotiations onto the second phase, he will begin by hammering out the final wording of a withdrawal agreement. said this could be done fairly swiftly on the basis of a joint report agreed by the Prime Minister and European Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker last week. Meanwhile, the European Council will also be looking at the definition of the transition period, including the question of the jurisdiction of the European Court of Justice, he said. The Parliament's Brexit coordinator Guy Verhofstadt and the leader of the socialist group Gianni Pittella attacked David Davis for suggesting that the deal on the Irish border was merely a statement of intent and not legally enforceable. Mr. Verhofstadt insisted, "Ireland cannot become the collateral damage of Brexit. We will not let it happen." I think the best way to secure this is that, in the coming weeks, we transpose all these commitments into the legal text of a withdrawal agreement. Mr. Campbell said he is Muslim and saw the EU institutions as still having a lot of work to do on diversity. German MEP Hans-Olaf Henkel criticized the level of Schadenfreude on the chamber and said the EU would not be competitive without Great Britain. Mr. Ferry stormed that Mrs May was dancing to the tune of the EU, suggesting Brexit might have to be reformed. It is as if, even though we are leaving, effectively the British government wants to keep us in some form of single market relationship, said Mr. Farage. "I'm not surprised you are all very pleased with her." He said the proposed transition period was the biggest deception yet played on the British people. "We are volunteering to go on paying the membership fee, accepting all the existing rules and all the new rules. We will effectively, once transition is granted, have left the EU in name only," he said. If that transition deal lasts up to the next general election, there is a real possibility that a new incoming British government/coalition could sign us up to the single market and customs union forever. Mr. Barnier drew battle lines on the divorce deal yesterday after Mr. Davis was accused of undermining trust and behaving like a gangster. Also raised the stakes on trade, warning there was no possibility of a full agreement on the future relationship being reached by the time Brexit happens in March 2019. By contrast, Mr. Davis suggested at the weekend that a trade deal could be struck 1 minute after we leave the EU. The combative comments came after Mr. Davis scrambled to defuse a Twitter row over playing down the UK's commitments on the Irish border. Furious, MEPs seized on the unacceptable remarks to accuse the UK of behaving like gangsters, while Mr. Webber opened a new front by warning the UK should not assume it will get a transition period if it does not honour commitments. this will be a furious race against time, where again our unity will be key, he said.